All right.
Hi, Dr. Wright.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you? Thanks so much for doing this.
Yeah, of course. Let me just get this
How have things
somewhere.
been?
Good. How about you?
Good. Just finished recording for MTNA
How did that go?
yesterday, last night. Or I finished recording yesterday. The submission process was due last night at midnight.
Nice. How did it go?
I think it went pretty well. I feel like I'm improving. Working with Dr. Gainsford here at FSU has been amazing.
Good.
I just want to say too, congrats on all the success on YouTube and everything.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah. I appreciate you taking time with Christy and I last 2 years ago, 3 years ago, in
Yeah.
our piano pedagogy class. It's funny because I'm back at FSU and I'm working with her. We're both class piano teaching assistants, so
Awesome.
it's a lot of fun. But so I see a lot of people are here. I wanted to get right into it. So again, thank you so much for taking time. I know we only have like 15 minutes or so. So I want to ask you, like, the first question is, how did you get started with music and why?
My mom taught piano in our basement, and I always wanted to play, and she made me wait until I was 4.5 to start lessons. So I was really excited. And then shortly thereafter, I went to my grandma. So, because my grandma taught like 60 or 70 students throughout her entire life. And so definitely a musical family, but nothing like concert artist level. There's just a lot of passion around music in our family. We started going to the symphony when I was 8 or 9, which really sparked an interest in competing at a higher level so I could hopefully play with the symphony one day, which happened fairly shortly after I started with my teacher, Susan Duehlmeier, at the University of Utah for many years. So I was about 9.5 when I went to Susan, and
Mm.
she's so brilliant. I mean, I still go. She just lives down the street here, and I'll still go. Like I went before this last live stream concert in September, and I played a bunch of repertoire, and she still has so much to offer, even after 20 years of studying with her. So, of course, I
Wow.
did my doctorate at University of Michigan, and I did some private studies with Sergei Babayan. But Susan's the one that I still see most frequently out of those three teachers. So.
Mm. Yeah, and so, I mean, did you just find that you had a passion for it and you just started practicing more, or what kind of inspired you to keep going?
Yeah, I always liked performing a lot. I didn't always love practicing at a young age.
Right.
From the 5 to 9 when I was with my grandma, I practiced. I mean, it was just a rule that, like, we owe all our success to our mom for making us practice. It was very strict of like you have to get your practicing done before you play with friends or anything. And then when I went to Susan, that shifted a lot because I knew this was really serious. It was not common for her to take on a 9-year-old, so I wanted to please her so much. So she said, okay, you need to be doing, I think it was like an hour and a half a day for the first 6 months of study. Then she's like, okay, now it's 2.5 hours a day. And a lot of my friends were doing 4 hours a day. And I said, why do I not have to do four? And she's like, well, you can get done in 2.5 what most kids can get done in four. So I was like, oh, okay. So that kind of got the wheels turning with efficiency and practice. And, but I did that pretty much every day. I could probably count on two hands the amount of days I missed in a decade. So like
Right.
I always practiced because I wanted to please Susan, and I just started loving it more when I got into the competitive side and performing a lot more frequently.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing because I think a lot of people can relate to that, like having somebody there that believes in you, that wants to push you, and that's definitely been the case for me as well, and I think that's amazing. I was gonna ask you because I know a lot of people, like, I look up to you. You've been a great mentor and friend for me. I know a lot of people look up to you. What advice would you give to a teenager who's looking to study and take music seriously?
Yeah, my first piece of advice is to always, find a good teacher, because if your teacher's not inspiring you, or you don't work well together, or you're not really growing, you might love the teacher as a person. They might have a great reputation, but if you don't get along with them really well and they're not helping you, that is the biggest issue. So that's why I went to the University of Utah for my undergrad and master's. I kind of combined those two, so I got it done in both of those degrees done in about 4 years because I had a lot of like AP credits from high school,
Right.
and I just, really, and I was competing so much, so the recitals weren't an issue. Most people, the recitals are the biggest issue. But I mean, I had hours and hours of repertoire that I had been competing with over, the past 10 years. So, but people are like, why did you go to the University of Utah and not apply to Juilliard for your undergrad or master's? And it was because I worked so well with Susan, and I mean, I was competing with kids from Juilliard all the time, and sometimes they beat me, sometimes I beat them. And
There
that
you
just shows, look, that the teacher is the most important thing. It's not the school name. The school name can be nice. I mean, it's impressive when you say you went to Juilliard. I mean, you're obviously amazing if you got in there and studied there, but the most important relationship, I think, and all of my friends at Juilliard would say the same thing, is, that your personal relationship with your teacher is the thing that really determines how well you play, the success you're going to have. And then also, if you want to make piano a career, you have to start thinking creatively in this day and age. I mean, if you were around, even 30 or 40 years ago, just go win a big competition and you'll probably be pretty well known. Now there's just thousands upon thousands of competitions. I've asked some of my private students who won the last Chopin competition. They can't tell me,
Right.
And it just goes to show you that's the biggest piano competition in the world. And even people who are highly invested in this space don't even know who won the biggest competition in the world. And that just goes to show the oversaturation of competition. So you need to start thinking creatively about how you're going to make a career. I don't think it's that difficult to, at least in Utah, to build a piano studio and make a decent living teaching. But if you want to, really push yourself, still concertize, maybe you do some accompanying on the side when you're getting started, or if that's something you're very passionate about, doing stuff online. How can I reach a wider audience? You really do have to be a lot more creative these days than traditional careers would lead you to paint. So.
Yeah, that's absolutely brilliant. And I think for me, with you, like, you really inspired me. And also the other person I was going to say, and I don't know if you know Drew Ford. He went to at that Viola Kid on Instagram.
I don't know.
He went to Juilliard, and I met with him in New York City. We're friends, and he really inspired me as well. He's got a big presence. He's got around 120,000 followers on Instagram.
Awesome.
But he's a classical violist, and he does a lot of online concerts and sort of similar content to what you produce as well, on YouTube and on Instagram. And I found that from him that I learned a lot, and from you I learned a lot. So I was going to ask you, well, first of all, what was the experience like in Warsaw with the Chopin competition?
I just did the preliminary round of the Chopin competition. So that was like in April. The big competition's in October. So I made it to the preliminary round, which is, I think they had like 500 or 600 applicants. I can't remember. And then they picked like 160, I think it was, to go compete in the preliminaries. So I wasn't at the big competition in October, but I was at the preliminaries, and it was really amazing. I did it in 2010 and then 2015.
Well, congrats, by the way.
Oh, well, I didn't progress beyond that, so
that's an insane accomplishment.
But yeah, it was amazing. I mean, the first time I went was really special because I was visiting Chopin's homeland, and we saw his birthplace in, I think it's Zola, or however you say that, just out in the countryside. We saw where his heart is encased in one of the columns of this cathedral there, I believe, just down in Old Town in Warsaw. Just experiencing that culture. I think Poland is one of the most amazing places I've ever been. The culture is just incredible. And seeing their love for Chopin is just unbelievably inspiring. That's who they worship in their society. It's not rock or pop stars, it's Chopin. And so they have these marble benches throughout the city playing Chopin's music. They have like speakers hooked up in them, and so everywhere you go, it's just Chopin has a presence, which is quite amazing. And the people are so kind too. The first time we went, their whole government had just been killed in those plane crashes. I don't know if you remember that. So the city was in mourning, and there was just candlelight vigils everywhere. That was also when the Iceland volcano went off and grounded all flights. It was actually during the time I was there competing. So we were there for almost 3 weeks. We spent, I think, a week or two in Warsaw, and then we went to Prague for 1 week just because we couldn't get a ticket out, which was just awesome. I wish flights would have been grounded longer, but my wife had to get back to school. So anyway, but yeah, it's one of the greatest cultures I've ever had the pleasure of getting to know.
Mm. So you said you have to go at 4, right?
Yes.
Or before that. If you have to go before then, that's fine too.
Oh no, just at 4 we start teaching. So.
Okay, cool. Is it okay if we open up questions like at like 3:55 my time?
Sure.
Because I know a lot of people have been messaging me and commenting and being like, I'm so excited to hear you talk to Dr. Wright, and I have so many questions for him, et cetera, et cetera. So I hope we can do that. But I was going to ask you, what are you working on now? What are you playing?
So I just did that live stream concert in September. So that was a completely new program, very tiring to, in 5 months learn an entire new program. Because I started getting serious about that in March, just when the quarantine happened. Because I knew I was performing in August, but I get so busy with all of my recording projects and making all those tutorials that I'm working on the repertoire pieces for my tutorials quite often. So I don't look like an idiot inside the tutorials. But I did the 2 Bolados arrangements. I've kept those up since the concert. And I'm debating the rest of the program. So I'm for sure doing one more Bolados arrangement, Lullaby in a Storm by Tchaikovsky. I love that piece. That one's just about ready to be memorized. I think I'm going to do maybe Liber Tango by Piazzolla with my wife on 2 pianos. And then I'm debating between doing the first movement of Schubert G Major Sonata and the Bach the Bach French Overture.
B minor.
Overture as part of that program, or the other 2 movements of the Chopin Concerto, the second and third movement, because I just performed the first. So I'm debating between the Bach and Schubert, and then the Chopin finishing the other 2 movements. So
the E minor
we'll see
concerto?
what I pick, but I'll probably be doing another live stream in March. I like to space. If I'm doing completely new programs, I need at least 6 months to prepare these properly, if not more. So it's been fun because I recycled repertoire. I built such a big repertoire as a teenager, and it's not like bigger than a lot of my colleagues. They have way bigger repertoires than I do. And many of them do, a lot of them do, but I built such a big repertoire as a teenager, learning things. So throughout my 20s when I was competing, I was learning new things all the time, of course, but still recycling a lot of old things. Now that I'm mostly doing online teaching and my YouTube series and all these tutorials, that gives me a chance to learn a lot of new repertoire, but also I'm not having such a heavy concert schedule, so I actually have the convenience of learning all this repertoire that I've wanted to learn all these years, but just never really found the time. So that's kind of what I'm focusing on right now.
Mm. No, that makes a lot of sense. I was going to ask you, what are you talking about, the E minor concerto or the F minor?
Yeah, the E minor. I competed with the F minor concerto.
Okay.
So I know that one. So I want to finish the E minor at some point. If it's for the concert in March, great. If it's later, maybe that's fine too. I'm not sure yet. I'll probably go with the Chopin, but I'm debating with the Bach and the Schubert as well. So.
Yeah. Well, I'm working on the F minor concerto right now of Chopin, and I also played some of the French Overture.
Yeah.
Love that piece.
Yeah.
Love that. You're gonna play the whole thing.
I probably overall like the F minor concerto better than the E minor. I think it's much more introspective. I mean, so is the E minor concerto, and maybe it's just because the E minor concerto is played by everyone, but I feel like the F minor is maybe a bit more special, at least to me. But there's just moments in the E minor that are just too good to pass up. I mean, they're two of my favorite pieces in the piano repertoire. So it's not like, oh, this one's garbage and this one's great. They're both unbelievable, but I do think I like the F minor slightly better.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was gonna say, thanks again for doing this, and I was gonna ask if we could open up questions, if you're okay with that.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I see a couple in the chat. So somebody asked. Let me go back to the beginning, and I'll just read it off for you. Somebody asked if you would play a quick piece.
Oh, well, we probably don't have time for
Yeah,
much.
that's what I was gonna say too.
Yeah. Just check out the live stream. I actually posted the live stream last night from the September concert. So you can watch a full concert. It's just on YouTube. It's my most recent upload. So
be able to hear harmonies you hear in a song on the radio.
Can you repeat that? I think it cut out for a second.
It says, what is your favorite way to better hear what harmonies are in a song on the radio?
I don't know. I haven't thought of that one.
I haven't either, honestly. Guys, if you want to leave questions in the chat, just go ahead, and we have a couple more minutes. It says, somebody said, go ahead and play. But you said you left the live stream on last night, video. I'm going to check that out.
Yeah, it was from the September concert. So
Right.
it's professionally done and everything. So yeah, you can go watch that entire thing. It's over an hour long. So.
Wait, so to replay what you hear. So I really enjoyed your Chopin Ballades lecture recital.
Thank you.
That was incredible. No, because I want to play that the whole set. I played the Opus 47, the third block. But I want to play all of them, and it was kind of like, now I'm kind of thinking about playing a lecture recital of different ballades with my teacher from like Brahms and Chopin and comparing them. So I'm really inspired by what you did there. I was gonna ask you, like, what's the most important lesson you think you've learned in the past year with piano, with life, etc.?
Probably the 80-20 principle, which pretty much just says that 80% of your output comes from 20% of your inputs, so like 20% of your work yields 80% of the results. And I think that's just an amazing thing. So I've been able to kind of reprioritize how I work, how I practice, how I run my business to be more efficient that way. I think we spend so much time doing things that are not efficient. And that book, I'm still reading the book. I didn't start it that long ago, but it just really opened my eyes to focusing on what has the biggest impact, whether it's, emotionally, spiritually, at your practice sessions, like just running through your pieces. Unless it's right before a performance, that's a pretty big waste of time if you haven't even practiced them. If you're just like, yeah, today for practicing, I'll just run through my pieces really quick, and then I'll see what I need to work on. It's like, no, like, from yesterday's practice session what you need to work on. So just get to work. And then at the end of that session, you can maybe play through that section or maybe the whole piece if you have the whole piece. But doing things in a much more efficient way, using that 80-20 principle has really helped me a lot.
It's by Richard Koch, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I listened to a recent interview with him on the Tim Ferriss podcast, and I really liked what he said. So, and I actually had the book. I bought it like over a year or two ago, but I just never got around to reading it. So then I started reading, and I was like, this is just incredible. I mean, the book can be summarized in one sentence, but it's interesting to how he like digs into the principle and how you can apply it to different situations.
Okay. Do you want to answer that question, or you have to go, right?
Yeah, I have to go. Is there one last question?
It says, do you think every pianist can play anything if they practice enough, or is some piece too difficult for a certain hand, for example?
not a certain hand, but no, I don't think everyone's going to play everything successfully, because I can't play everything successfully either. This is, I mean, like if you look at like just to get it to that point has taken me so long. That's like one of the most difficult pieces, or playing double third. That all of those techniques are very specialized. Do I think anyone could play Bach minuets well with enough work? Absolutely. I think anyone in the world could do that with enough work. Maybe there's some exceptions, but I don't know of any. But no, I don't think everyone's going to play Chopin etudes really well, even if they study for 30 or 40 years. If you've got the right teacher, the right work ethic, and you've got some sort of musicality in your body, you probably can play the Chopin etudes to a certain level. I'm not saying it's impossible, but yeah, I've seen too many examples of people that I've taught or seen perform where they've been playing for so long and they just, don't have it. Now, that's not to discourage someone from trying to, because I think we can all get so much better no matter what level you're at, if you've got no natural ability or a ton of natural ability. But no, I don't think that everyone will be able to play like some of the most difficult repertoire successfully. I think that you could learn the notes to pretty much anything, but to play it in tempo, or to say, could I ever play this like Daniel Trifonov can? The answer is probably no. You will never play like he can. Just like I'll probably never play like he can on almost every piece, because he's like the best in the world for his age. I mean, and probably one of the best in the world, period. So he's my favorite young pianist. So
yeah, he's amazing.
Not to be discouraging advice, it's to be realistic about your expectations and push yourself to get better, but don't, shoot so much higher than your current ability. That's the biggest mistake I see. People are like, I've been playing for 3 months and I'm working on the first Chopin Ballade. What should I do? And I'm like, you should stop working on that and you should go back to pieces that are appropriate to your level. So, yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Appreciate this. Is it okay if I share this on my Instagram page?
Yeah, absolutely. And send me a copy and I'll share it on my
And I'll tag you in it. And then I have an external cam over here that I'm recording with. I'll send that. I'll put that on Google Drive. And then send that to you, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Thank you, Dr. Wright. Thank you so much.
Yep. Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, see ya. You too.